From being in the top 10 for almost 2 decades to winning 22 Grand Slams, Rafael Nadal made it all look so easy. But thanks to injuries, it looks like the GOAT's glory days are behind him, because the uncertainty of his schedule just can't be good news. His injuries are acting up. Nadal started 2023 with hopes of defending his Australian Open title, but 2023 is not cooperating with him. Far from defending the Melbourne title, the Spanish legend was out only in the second round of the Open.
I think it's a joke. I am following the rules, and if I am having less when you are playing again during these very humid conditions, we have a biggest problem today. That is.
And sadly, now the worst fears of the tennis world seem to be coming true. That second round loss at the hands of Mackenzie McDonald in Melbourne was just the beginning.
Game, segment, 3 from love, 6-4, 6-4.
This afternoon of his life, and one I'm sure that will be one of the most emotional as well for the twins. Mackenzie McDonald topples the defending champion here in Melbourne.
Turns out, the injury that made him limp in that match was indeed in his hip. A grade 2 injury in his iliopsoas, to be exact. The 36-year-old said that usually injuries of this nature take around 6 to 8 weeks to recover. But unfortunately for Nadal, in these few weeks, a lot of important tennis will go down in the Middle East. First, there's the Dubai Tennis Championships, and then of course, the Qatar Open. The Spaniard will also miss the Mexican Open, where he had 500 points to defend. So there, the entire Middle East swing just erased from Rafa's schedule, and then another 500 points down the drain. How sad is that? Oh, just wait, it's about to get sadder. Rafa's top 10 position is in grave danger. The first Masters 1000 event is also pulling up after the Middle East swing. Yep, allow me to remind you of the Indian Wells. See, last year, Rafa was the runner-up at the Indian Wells. He lost to Taylor Fritz, remember? Well, this means that he's currently got a hefty 600 points to defend at the Wells. Now here's the bad news. This event falls on the 6th week of Rafa's injury. So yeah, chances are that he's going to have to miss it. Guess what that means? Go on, I'll tell you. Missing the Indian Wells will break Nadal's almost 18-year streak of being in the top 10. What dozens of injuries and heartbreaks couldn't do in 18 years, this hip injury might just. The 36-year-old first entered the world's top 10 in April of 2005, and he didn't look back. He was only 18 years old back then. Currently, he's sitting at number 6, but it might not last very long. His place in the top 10 depends almost entirely on the points from the Indian Wells, because after that, he doesn't have much to defend. And why is that? Because, you guessed it, injuries. Last year, he ended up missing the Monte Carlo Masters and the Barcelona Open. Add to that his early exits from the Madrid Open and the Italian Open, and you get a clay swing where the Spanish legend has got next to no points to defend this year. So, will he take the risk and show up at the Indian Wells to try and keep his top 10 streak from breaking? His fans have their 2 cents to give on this. The world of Rafael Nadal's fans is a wholesome one. Sure, the news of him withdrawing from the Middle East swing was sad as hell. But if you've been keeping track of the legend's recent injuries, it wasn't very surprising. And it looks like his fans were ready for this. But there's something they're not ready for: giving up on Rafa. While his fans want him to rest up and not care about the ranking points for now, they want their tennis king to return to the French Open and remind the world that he's the real deal. The 36-year-old has a very impressive history at Roland Garros. Last year, he won his 14th French Open and set a record for winning 22 Grand Slams right there. And thanks to that victory, he's got 2,000 points to defend in Paris. This means if he manages to take home the French trophy once again, his chances of entering the top 10 will come back to life. And his fans don't doubt it for a second. The temporary loss of the top 10 place is something they, and hopefully Rafa himself, can deal with. And yeah, the rankings shouldn't matter all that much right now because his health is at stake. All things considered, the best thing the 22-time Grand Slam winner player can do for his career right now is to rest up until Paris. As for the Indian Wells, missing it sucks for him and his fans, but he's not alone in that. His greatest rival might miss it too. Oh yes, it's Novak Djokovic, ladies and gents. The Serb gives Rafa a hard time. Only this year, their rivalry went to a whole new level. Djokovic didn't equal Nadal's record of winning 22 Grand Slams. He also did it at the Australian Open, where the Spaniard limped out in the second round. And Novak was injured too. Yes, there are layers to this thing, but when it comes to the Indian Wells, it looks like both of them might very well be in the same boat. While Nadal will be missing out due to injury, Novak might not be able to play because, well, he's unvaccinated. The United States won't let any unvaccinated people enter before May. Oh no, will it be another deportation drama? Let's just hope there isn't an Australian replay in the US. So, yeah, while the best player in the world was confirmed to play at Indian Wells, his unvaccinated status is making it impossible. He's trying though. He applied for special permission only days ago, so let's see how that goes.
All information. The only, for me, clear thing is if you are vaccinated, you can play in the Australian Open and everywhere. We need to get the vaccine. That's my point of view. You know, I went through.
But there's something that's not common between the two legendary rivals. One's might have a better future than the other. Djokovic might outlast Nadal when it comes to their tennis careers. Look, don't shoot the messenger, okay? Analysts agree that the Serb legend still seems to have a few years ahead of him. But for Rafa, things look bad. Boris Becker, for one, believes the Spaniard's days are numbered. And no, it's not about the Spaniard's skill or even his stamina. Hell, Nadal's not even new to injuries. The guy won last year's French Open with an injured foot with painkillers injected into it. It's just that this time, the injury is different. And we've learned from Andy Murray's case, hip injuries aren't fast to heal. And at Rafa's age, the prospect of his hip recovering fully just isn't realistic, sadly. This is why Boris believes that the 36-year-old's fateful match against Mackenzie McDonald was his first step towards retirement. And he's not the only one who thinks this. Todd Woodbridge and Mark Petchey also believe that the 2023 French Open might be the last for Rafa. But hey, we can't be sure of that. Not until we see how he does at Roland Garros, that is. At the upcoming French Open, a lot will be at stake. All this talk about his position in the ATP rankings sounds unserious when you think about what else is at stake here. His career. Yes, experts like Todd Woodbridge and even some fans believe that the French Open will be a ride or die for Nadal. See, if he recovers his form and goes to win the title, or at least plays really well, that'll be great. But if he doesn't recover and puts on a mediocre performance, Rafa might decide to quit because he doesn't like being mediocre. Also, with the retirements of Roger Federer and Serena Williams in the air, he might find it easy to make this decision too. Oh, we're witnessing the end of the golden era, aren't we? And this hip injury might take another goat off the tennis court. Because after all, even Rafael Nadal ages. Anyway, that was all about the uncertain future of the Spanish legend.